Hi, Ellie.
Hello, how are you?
Doing great.
Great.
Really excited for the session and to see you and Monique in the same color palette, this very
That's right.
sunny yellow, makes me even more excited for the conversation today.
It was not planned, but it does look nice, doesn't it?
You're on the same page. I love it.
Love it.
All
Well,
right, we'll
awesome.
give folks just another minute to join, and then Ellie will pass it over to you.
All right. I always underestimate how much time I should let people join, but I'm going to talk awkwardly for a second and then we'll start.
Everyone's refilling their waters.
That's right. I know I realized I need to refill mine, but we're here. We're started.
We're doing it, lady.
All right, well, I'll kick it off. So, thank you everybody for joining us today. We're excited to have you here for a look at how Rainbow Railroad has scaled programs around the world. Uh, what did I say?
No,
Go
that
ahead.
was right. Yeah.
Okay, there was an
I
echo,
heard a
and I was
little
like,
bit
"Oh
of an
no."
echo. Yeah.
Okay, great. Um, my name is Ellie Brandon. I'm a senior customer success manager here at Intellistack. My team works closely with customers every day to help them get the most out of their FormStack solutions. And today's story is a perfect example of what is possible when technology meets mission-driven work. So today I will be joined by at least two, hopefully three different speakers. Monique is the director of monitoring, evaluation, and learning at Rainbow Railroad, and the power user behind many of the workflows you'll see today. She's been central to building the systems that now support global programs reaching LGBTQIA plus individuals in crisis. Lana, hello, welcome, Lana.
Hi.
This is the senior nonprofit account executive with Belmar Consulting, a Salesforce and FormStack implementation partner who specializes in helping nonprofits design scalable, no-code systems. And Kayla Miles, our partnerships manager here at Intellistack, will be moderating today's conversation and helping us connect the dots between mission, process, and technology. We are thrilled to bring all of these perspectives together today. Kayla?
Awesome. Thanks, Ellie. And before we dive in, just a couple of housekeeping items for everyone. So today's session is going to be recorded. We'll be sending out the recording and resources to everyone afterwards, so you don't need to worry about capturing all of the details as we go. We're going to leave time at the end for questions, but feel free to drop those questions into the Q&A throughout the session. All right, now with that all out of the way, let's go ahead and shift into the heart of today's conversation. So, Rainbow Railroad has seen extraordinary growth over the last few years, and with the help of Lana and her team, they've been able to overcome operational challenges, challenges that many of you may recognize in your own organization. So, with that being said, Lana, Monique, we'd love to get started by just understanding what was the challenge that your team was facing and what did the partnership between your two companies look like? I'd also love to understand what was the impact of like doing nothing? You know, if we have a huge problem, can we push it down the road anymore? What would the impact of that be? Just so that everyone can be in the same place and experience of what your team was experiencing. So, Monique, I'll pass it over to you.
For sure. Thank you. With Rainbow Railroad, basically, we receive requests for help from individuals, LGBTQI individuals who are being persecuted around the world. When I first started in the organization, we were receiving around 3,000 requests for help. And last year, we received 14,000 requests for help. And then this year, we're on track to receive over 20,000 requests for help. So, because we've been scaling so much and the need is so great, it inherently affects how we manage and clean and process our data. But we also aren't a technical team. So we manage our Salesforce, we manage all of our data within the Salesforce. But as we continue to scale our programs, it's difficult to see how we can continue to impact this same amount of people when the need is increasing, while also managing our data and managing our systems in the same way. And I admire my colleagues every day because they have to go through triaging cases and working with individuals. And we're working in a global landscape that's inherently against LGBTQI folks. And so we're really looking for ways to streamline our processes and also still make the same amount of impact or more to meet with this need. And I think that's really where Belmar was able to come in with a very non-technical team because we didn't necessarily have the expertise on board to figure out how to do this or how to even scale our technology in a way that really works for us and to, again, meet the capacity.
Awesome. Thanks, Monique. What you described of, hey, we're like a young, scrappy team, and the additional resistance and that friction that your team was facing really resonates with folks that are just looking to be able to automate these processes and get like little chunks of time back that really add up, and being able to shift and focus that on some of the more like impactful activities. So that's great. Awesome. Thank you. And Lana would love to hear. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. And I would just add we were so thrilled. So at Belmar, we work with impact organizations specifically, so nonprofits, public sector, social advocacy groups, and we were so impressed with the Rainbow Railroad team. So when Monique and her team reached out, you say you're a non-technical team, but what your team did have was, you were incredibly smart and savvy and eager to learn, and also had buy-in from the leadership all the way throughout the organization in terms of we need to improve systems and processes so that we can serve more people because you were seeing this, massive scaling of demand. So we had a really collaborative partnership, which has been great because we're able to say, we'll train you on how to do something and you can take that on, and then we'll do this higher lift part so that we can get you where you need to be quicker. So it's been a very collaborative process. Yeah.
Lana, and what you said about their team, like wanting both the help with the training and with the design. I know, Monique, when we were talking, you were discussing how data was stuck in multiple places and just having a partner that could help you design what the right workflow looked like, and leaning on the Belmar team to help partner with you to create that, bring that to life, and then put into practice 3 really awesome use cases off the bat, leveraging Salesforce, leveraging Intellistack products. I'd love to dig into that piece a little bit deeper. Do you want to go ahead and jump on into some of the use cases that your team approached?
Yes, for sure. So our biggest thing is, I think like many nonprofits, we were using a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of Google Sheets. And even when we were on Salesforce, there's still separate areas where information was living because obviously with Salesforce, a lot of it is custom built. And particularly for our programs, we had to build a lot of these systems from scratch to make it work with what we wanted to track. And so around 2022, we started to expand our programming where we weren't just helping people relocate and escape their country of persecution, but we were offering so many other types of support. For example, grant management and grant support to LGBTQI organizations. And we were leveraging more volunteers, putting together volunteer teams. And then again, our request for help was continuing to increase. And I think with that, we were initially using like this one form, and we would use webhooks to link it to Salesforce. It was a little complicated. We had a Salesforce developer come in and set it up for us. And we kept on missing different pieces of information. We also had to do things very manually. And for the grants management, actually, we were getting applications through a Google form, and then we would manually input the information into Salesforce afterwards. So it really restricted what we were able to do, and I think the scale of what we were able to do. But then when we were reaching out to Belmar, and really our biggest requirements was that we wanted something where we can do file uploads onto Salesforce, which was our initial request. But then we also needed something that could connect to all of the custom objects that we were using to track all of our programming. And that's really when Lana introduced us to Intellistack, and we realized that there's an option for us to directly connect to Salesforce and move all of our workflows that don't even exist in Salesforce right now, but exist in Google Sheets, that exist in Google Forms, that exists in just very manual processes, and move that all into our current system.
manual uploads, manual data entry, the limited bandwidth. A lot of what you're saying is something that we hear from folks that are starting their journey with Intellistack. So I know that they definitely have a lot to learn from you, knowing that you went from 30 applications being processed annually to the hundreds plus that we'll talk about a little bit more. But before we get to the bright side, the where you are today and the success that you've seen, would love if we could talk a little bit more about what was the approach. How did your team and the Belmar team partner together to create and drive forward this solution, leveraging Intellistack and Salesforce?
Mhm. I think for us, it honestly was very easy when we worked with Belmar. I think we just came to Belmar and said what our problem was and said, listen, we have one form for requests for help. We have one form for volunteers, and we're having all of these issues, and we can't do file uploads. And we didn't even think ahead to some of our processes, even being able to have forms that could link into Salesforce. And Belmar came to us with a solution, and they helped us set up everything. So when they were setting up FormStack, actually, they had created 8 of our most critical in our initial form. So that was our request for help form, which we have in 5 different languages. And they also created 3 of our partnership forms. So that's our funding request form, and then our mid-project impact report, and then our final project impact report. And I had no idea how to use FormStack at the time. It was completely new to me, and I was a little bit worried about the learning curve, but we were basically working with the Belmar team. As they built it, they were seeing our processes, they were seeing what we wanted to do on Salesforce, and they were training us along the way. And then we were kind of just watching, coming along for the ride and seeing how they were building everything. And then because those were the most critical forms, the partnership form and the request for help form, we were able to sort of just duplicate the work after that and then expand it into our different programming. So yeah, I think it was just basically we came to Belmar with a problem, and then they brought a form stack and helped build it out for us, and then now we're just able to replicate their work, which is nice.
It's almost like it was the spark, when we first started working together. I mean, I was a fundraiser for over 10 years, and I was so frustrated with all of these same challenges. And when we started working together, we were all excited about just allowing your team to do more. And a big part of that is also allowing you to do more without always needing to call a consultant to do something. So we focused a lot on training, and your team just ran with it. So we love seeing how it is, partially the functionality that we built out together. But I think from where we started, we built out a few forms, and now we've been able to grow with that and just keep running with it and evolving. And now, I mean, you're doing such incredible, global work now because of that initial starting point and just being open to rethinking how you were managing things and learning along the way. So it's been really exciting to see that evolution. And a lot of that is due to the ease of use with FormStack, like that a team can pick it up and learn it quickly and easily and just keep iterating on the work that you've already what's already been built out. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been amazing to see what you guys are doing.
Lana, 2 things really stick out to me from what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you weren't just building forms, you were building a repeatable program framework for Monique and her team, something that
Yeah.
they went from, 7 forms and kind of bespoke ways to having that form go from that first point of contact to that mid-project to that end of project type of form. So really just throughout the entire life cycle. And then that what you pointed out about everything being admin friendly and
Mhm.
designed for Rainbow Railroad's team to own once it was in place, and partnering you with both the training and the enablement to be able to run with it after your team says, all right, let's go. So
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. And I think it's similar to, when you're in a nonprofit, your goal is always to put yourself out of a job, right? We solve this incredible social challenge. And in consulting at Belmar, our vision, is the same. We want our clients to not need us anymore. Or the goal is that we can take the stuff off your desk that you don't want to do. But at the end of the day, we want you to be empowered to to take on as much as you can on your own and be independent so that you're not always needing to rely on consultant support. So yeah, having tools that make that possible is pretty amazing when I think of how challenged I was as a fundraiser. So yeah.
Well, and I think that's a great time to transition to what this looks like. And would love if you would be able to, Monique or Lana, if one of you could walk us through how this is now being used by your team
Yeah.
and what
Well,
this
I'll
looks
let
like.
Monique do that because she is the expert now.
Yeah.
Thank you. All thanks to Belmar. But for sure, I'll share my screen. And I think, and just to preface what I am about to show, so one of our granting programs in Rainbow Railroad is part of our Queer Force Displacement Initiative. You can see we have our website here. And we have something called the Crisis Response Fund, where basically we are providing funding to grassroots organizations who are supporting LGBTQI individuals across the world who might be facing persecution or facing displacement. We've always had a partnership and grants program, at least for the past 5 years, but then this one is specifically tailored to crisis response. And so it's a pretty new program, and it's across the entire world. We put out calls based on the region. So we've gone through several regions. We actually recently closed our last round and distributed the funding. You can see all of the regions here. And in our form, in our website, we are able to just embed the form stack in directly, and this is the entire application process. So partners just have to go to our website. They just have to go through the form. You can see there's all of the fields, and with FormStack, it's just been so easy that we were able to link it directly to our partnership object. Again, this is a custom object that we built on Salesforce to track our granting program and our partnership program. So other forms just weren't able to connect to a custom object, and we wouldn't have this functionality. And also, so every time someone fills out the information, they're filling out details for their account on Salesforce and also for their partnership. And we go through the entire thing. These are some of the account fields. And then if you go to other pages, it basically walks the person through the entire application, and they just have to click submit. And once they click submit, our staff gets notified, and it also goes directly into our dashboard. So this is our Salesforce, and we have a crisis response or crisis fund dashboard. I just have my test case in here, so you can see. But for a crisis response fund, I think total we received like over 600 applications. So we were able to manage that load with
And
each call.
that's up from 30, right? You were getting 30 requests before, and now that's incredible.
So 30 was like in a year, and now it's 600 just for this program in a year. I can't even imagine a world where were screening through 600 through Google Forms. I don't think that would have been possible at all. But this one, it goes into Salesforce. They can see it right away on their dashboard, and they can open the report, and then they're able to access the partnership record. So again, partnerships is the custom object, and this is how our partnership record looks like in Salesforce. Everything populates smoothly. So if they go in, under the details section, if they go in, you can see that all of the fields would just translate both for the account that was created and also any question we ask them. So project details, project issues. So anything that we really want to fill out, you'll just see a lot of test content here because I wanted to just put a test record for people to show. And that means that our team is able to go in, assess the application right away, and create an assessment to be able to see if an organization is eligible. And if we do decide to fund an organization, this is something that Belmar actually created for us, which we really appreciate. When a partnership record is created, then we have a mid-project form link and a final project form link that is automatically created for this partnership record. So you can see this in the form in the field here. And every partnership has a start date and an end date. So depending on the mid-project date or the end project date, we have a flow that will automatically send the contact attached to this partnership, the mid-project form link. And because it automatically links to their their project, they're able to just go in. This is how the mid-project report looks like. If you click next, it also filled in some test fields. And you can see that these fields are actually pre-filled because FormStack has the pre-fill feature. And since this is specific to the record, they can update their information if they want to. So this is information that already existed. And then if you go in here, I had just put it, this is a test for all of it, but they can just fill in their mid-project report. It looks the same thing for the final project report as well. They can upload any files, which again was a big thing for us, especially for the final project. We're looking for people to submit their budgets or any additional documentations or references. And then that's basically, they just have to submit the report. And when we go back to the partnerships, then our staff is able to be notified. They can just run a Salesforce report really easily to see who submitted their mid-project report, who they need to follow up with. And if you go in here, you can see all my, this is a test. You just refresh the page and it just goes in so smoothly. Whereas the previous process, what we have to do before is we'd have to contact the person and we'd have to ask them for the mid-project report. We'd send them a PDF link that they would fill out. And then we either manually upload that PDF link PDF forms fields into Salesforce, or we directly upload it into Salesforce, but we couldn't run a report easily, or we couldn't just view it on the record. So with this, it just makes it a lot easier because we can see all the information here. And it's the same thing for the final report. It'll look the exact same, except it'll be these report fields here. So the process is just, now it's exclusively in Salesforce, except for the initial step where people have to go to our website. But then after that, our whole team doesn't have to leave Salesforce in order to go through the entire funding process, which is very convenient. So yeah, that's the crisis response fund. I'm not sure if we have time for another demo, but I wanted to just start with this because this was, I think, one of our favorite ones.
Yeah, I think we do have time for a second one. And Monique, when you were going through that and you mentioned not only the time savings for your team, but in looking at the pre-fill, the user's experience who is submitting this form, if it's pulling in that pre-filled information, I mean, nobody wants to start with a blank form when you're trying to get through something quickly, or maybe you've already submitted a couple of these key pieces. So I think about the clients that you're serving and that you're helping, and how this is also creating a better experience for them with the help of Lana and the Belmar team. So yeah, that's awesome. I'd love to dive into that next demo.
Sure, absolutely. And to the point you were saying, that definitely has been a big thing for us, because with our partnership program, we recognize that a lot of grassroots organizations don't necessarily have the capacity to have even like a fully functioning mail team, someone just dedicated fully to reporting or to collecting data. So a big thing for us is making it as low barrier as possible. And now it's just as easy as sending them the link. And it also helps with us because when we're supporting so many people, it's sometimes hard to follow up with everyone. So it's nice to have these automated processes. The next demo I'll show will also be relatively quick. It's our Rainbow Railroad Housing and Livelihood Assistance Fund. So in the past couple of years, Rainbow Railroad has expanded our programming again. This is just a common theme as we continue to grow, and we offer a lot of post-relocation support now. And so we help people resettle to different countries. And as part of the Housing and Livelihood Assistance Fund, we also provide emergency cash assistance to people who have already relocated to the US or Canada who might be needing this extra cash assistance after they've arrived. Just because, particularly with queer folks, but with refugees and asylum seekers, there's not necessarily a lot of support out there for them once they arrive in their country. So we want to be able to supplement the support that they may be receiving so that they can have a better start in their new life. So with this Housing and Livelihood Assistance Fund, we have put the entire application form again on Salesforce, on our website, and then it directly translates into Salesforce. So this is, once again, another FormStack form where people have to go in and they just have to go through the application steps. It's pretty straightforward, where they can say where they're applying from, if they already have a case from Rainbow Railroad, and if someone had referred them to this program. And we also have the opportunity for staff of organizations to submit it on behalf of someone who might be requesting help. And the biggest thing, and I think maybe the most important thing or interesting thing that we also added, is we've added vulnerability indicators here. So casework and program work like it varies from program to program. And typically we will do a lot of things to verify a case or to triage a case and to see what type of support we can give them. But this is also a really lengthy process. Vulnerability interviews can take like around 3 hours. It's just a very lengthy amount of time, especially, and it's sometimes time that we don't necessarily have if we're trying to impact the most amount of people. Like the Housing and Livelihood Fund, they release their calls every single month. So they have to assess new applications every single month. So we've inputted these vulnerability indicators here so we can start to assess right away, again, if someone has a disability, what their level of vulnerability is, like what their immigration status is, what their housing situation is. We've put it all here. And so when we go back into Salesforce, again, when someone submits an application, it automatically notifies our staff member looking at it. And you can see that it'll show up in the cases here. This is my general test case. And if someone already has an existing case with Rainbow Railroad, it will just automatically update our existing case because a lot of people we helped relocate. And this is the additional support. And they just have to go in and you can see everything stays the same because this was an existing case. And what they can do is go in directly to our assessments, which is also a custom object we built to help us assess a case. So an assessment record, because of this FormStack form, is automatically created when someone submits an application and everything's pre-populated. So the staff member can go in, they can see exactly how they answered the application, the assessment questions, and we've scored and ranked each vulnerability indicator. So we're able, basically, I'm just going to scroll down to the summary. We have it automatically calculated where you can see how this person, which in my test case, how this person scored in their vulnerability. So this one was 79%. And so we're able to run a report and basically triage cases who might have higher vulnerability. It's not the only step they do in assessing a case. They do a lot more work to be able to assess for funding, but it takes out at least the admin part and like a good chunk of their time so they're able to move and process things a little bit quicker. So yeah, that's our Housing and Livelihood Assessment Fund, and it attaches to the case object, which is obviously like a Salesforce object, and then our assessment object, which is a custom object.
Monique, there's a lot to unpack there, but I have to think that when a application or when that submission reaches that score of an 80% of that vulnerability assessment, like how does that change the staff and the team's behavior? Are they able to jump into those high risk or high vulnerability cases faster? What does that look like for those teams?
Yeah, so when we were first testing this out, the staff member who's looking over this, Leora actually is her name, she would cross-check and she would see like, oh, is our vulnerability assessment actually working? Like, did the people who ranked 20% actually need our help or 80% actually need our help? And she realized that it was very like accurate. So now she's able to just basically sort the report. And then she can start with the highest vulnerability and she'll still review and look at the lower vulnerability just to make sure that there's something she isn't missing. But basically she's able to get to those cases quicker and distribute the funding a lot quicker because she knows that they already have the highest vulnerability and they've already reported that their needs in a way that questions that she would typically have to ask manually.
Awesome. Monique, that is a perfect transition. I'd love to just learn and hear from you. What has been the biggest unlock for your team? Like, what couldn't you have done without these systems and working with the Belmar team?
I mean, I think even with the demos I showed, we couldn't have done any of it, which sounds a little dramatic, but it's also true, where again, we would still be in a place where we would have to do our individual calls for proposals, and we can only invite people and process 30 applications per year. We wouldn't be able to get to like the hundreds of organizations we're able to get to for funding. For all of this, like we wouldn't be able to reach all of the refugees and asylum seekers who are needing funding right away. And we'd probably get to it, but in a much slower process, but it certainly wouldn't keep up with the 20,000 requests for help that we're reaching each year. I can't even, I think, overstate like how dramatic the impact all of these forms and these functionalities have had on our team because it's just worked so smoothly and seamlessly with the way that we've been able to scale. But sometimes when I reflect back on how I was doing work 5 years ago with Rainbow Railroad, I think like, oh, there's no way we could even do this. But now, if we're building a new program or someone wants something a little to work more seamlessly or a process to work faster, they want a form for it. I don't even really have to consider it anymore. I just know like, oh yes, this is definitely possible. We can just build this. We can just continue to ideate and grow and scale our impact, and rather than thinking, oh no, we're limited by technology. We're limited by the fact that my team isn't software developers, or we're not data engineers and we don't know how to code. We're not limited by any of that. We can just think about what the next steps are. And I think that because we move so quickly in Rainbow Railroad and because it's such an urgent issue, this is critical for us being able to take the next step every single month and every single year.
Yeah. And stay focused on your mission and lean on both the technology and the experts in the space to help you develop those processes that can help you keep up with the rate that you're growing of those 20,000 applications that you're reviewing. And Lana, I'd love to hear from your side. How can teams out there that are listening to Monique's story, how could they best get connected with you to work with your team to try to work towards some of these goals that Monique laid out?
Yeah, well, I think similar to how we connected with Rainbow Railroad, of just reaching out directly and having an open mind, we have all these conversations not based on a solution or a technology approach. We just want to hear what your challenges are, and then we can come to you with a recommendation on how to solve that. So, yeah, I think just reaching out to me, and we can walk through what's holding you back. And our team is, we have a brilliant team of developers who loves to work through any kind of challenges and find a way forward. And the vast majority of our team also has first-hand nonprofit experience. So we just speak the language and want to find a way to empower your teams to do more good. Because, I mean, yeah, Monique, your team is doing such incredible work. If we can do anything to make that a tiny bit easier so that you can have a larger impact, especially, we need good people doing good work more than ever. So reach out, ask questions, and we can take it from there. Yeah.
Perfect. So, folks, if you're looking at this checklist and thinking, okay, this aligns with my priorities for 2026, I want to create processes that are going to drive volunteer engagement, that are going to get quicker response times for folks that are reaching out to engage or they're reaching out for help. We have a great partner with Belmar that we'd love to be able to connect you with to help create these processes and design something that works for your team. And so what's next for Rainbow Railroad? What are you guys focused on? What are some of these next digital transformation priorities that you have for 2026?
Um, there's a lot. I don't even know where to start. I think um, because again, we're always expanding our programming and we are trying to find ways to work faster and also reach the most amount of people and also provide, I think, a holistic sort of support to LGBTQI people around the world. I think a focus for us is expanding, at least for our technology, is expanding our tracking for our post-relocation support. So we did a lot of forms, like most of our forms this year was for our post-relocation support team. So FormStack has been incredibly helpful for that. Another thing that we are actually doing is we're working with an engineering firm called Polar Labs, and they're building us a data lake. So we're excited to move to the next step for that because that allows us, they're basically building a client portal where all of our clients can access their information. And we're linking that with FormStack. So we're embedding our FormStacks into it so we can continue to use our FormStacks as a request for help mechanisms and for case updates and for case deletion as well and case closing. So just making sure that we're, again, maintaining the data in our system as our system increases by 20,000 every year. And then moving forward, I think we're also looking at ways that we can really showcase the data we have. And I think that always starts with making sure that our digital technology is in a good place. Because we've had the opportunity to do this crisis response fund and with the help of our form stacks being able to manage all of these applications, we really want to be able to showcase our crisis response data and make that a little bit more accessible to organizations, academics, CSOs, just independent researchers. And so I foresee that there will be a lot of different ways and maybe more unique ways that we might be using both Belmar support and FormStack to figure out how we can collect that data and also share that data with people. So there's definitely a lot on the go. I think every year at Rainbow Railroad, it's just completely new because we're trying to keep up with the growing demand. But we're at 60 form stacks right now. So I can imagine in the next year or two, like that'll just continue to double or triple as we just keep on building custom objects and as we keep on finding new things new ways that we want to interact with our clients. So I guess maybe to sum it up, just more form stacks, more data, more tracking.
And Monique, it sounds like what started as just one team or one or two teams at Rainbow Railroad, leveraging FormStack and working with Belmar, that it's more teams that are saying, hey, that's a really great technology that I'd like to be able to use to improve this process. So, folks, if you have any use cases that you want to brainstorm or would love to learn more about how Belmar and Intellistack and FormStack can help you on your digital transformation journey, go ahead and scan this QR code. It is a FormStack form, and we'd love to hear from you and find out how we can help.
Thank you guys so much. And thank you, Monique, for sharing your story and just, giving teams some hope, as I'm sure some of the folks on the call are either thinking about just frustrated or mid-project or thinking about what comes next. And I feel like it's always helpful to hear from someone who's been through it and is seeing great success on the other side. So thank you for sharing your story and for taking the time to show us all the great work you're doing today. We really appreciate you. And thank you, Kayla and Ellie, for setting this up and pulling us all together.
Thanks everyone for joining, and thank you, Monique, for sharing with us as well.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be able to chat about our work and everything.
We loved it. We appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.